How's it going, everyone? Welcome back into the Pigskin Cafe. My name is Hampton Sipper, and I will be your host this evening. And joining me tonight is nobody. I'm giving Chase and Graham the night off, and I just wanted to come on here and share some thoughts that I had over the weekend, especially regarding my guy, Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, and the unfair ridicule and skepticism that he receives almost on a daily basis. But I'll get to that in just a minute. If you're new here, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Pigskin Cafe. Be sure to like, share, and hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified anytime we upload a new video. We're trying to crank out 2 or 3 a week, and we just appreciate all the support that we have received thus far. It really means a lot to us, and we can't thank you guys enough for that. Now, let's get into what I wanted to talk about here tonight, and that was my guy, Tua Tagovailoa. And kind of what spurred this on is the Miami Dolphins played the Philadelphia Eagles in a preseason matchup this past Saturday. Tua comes in, 3 drives, 17 points, 67, 121 yards, and a tutty. Perfect passer rating, played incredible, looked awesome. The offense was firing all cylinders under new head coach Mike McDaniel. And instead of praising Tua and this new look offense that has been implemented, this Shanahan wide zone play action offense, what does ESPN and legacy media do and other opposing fan bases? They choose to criticize a 51 to 55-yard throw from Tua to Tyreek Hill in the first play of the game. What other quarterback in the NFL gets criticized for a 55-yard completion? Can you name one for me? If you can, leave that name down in the comments because I would love to hear about it. And this really upsets me as a guy who loves Tua, has watched him since his time at Alabama. Even in high school, I followed him when he committed to Alabama because the facts aren't reigning supreme. Agendas are. And this agenda of Tua not being able to throw the ball deep, Tua not being a good enough quarterback to lead the Miami Dolphins to where they want to go is flat out based on nothing but agendas. And a lot of this agenda started in 2020 with Brian Flores at the helm. And to provide, even go back a little further than that, Tua was unlike anything Alabama fans or college football had ever seen when he was at Alabama. He threw a touchdown about every 10 attempts, led the NCAA, set an NCAA record in completion percentage on deep balls downfield. Deep balls. The things that media and analysts and pundits would say that he cannot do, he was the best at in college. Okay. We'll come back to that later about them saying he cannot do it. When I think it's not that he cannot, until this year, he was not gifted and suited with the right personnel and play calling to fully take advantage of that skill set that he has. But we'll get back to that in a minute. So he goes through Alabama. He's going to be the number one pick. Does anyone remember Tank for Tua? That was the thing. It wasn't Joe Burrow. Tua, from the time he stepped on Alabama's campus, was a prodigy. From the time he stepped on Alabama's campus, and the only reason he threw a 5 was because of a devastating hip injury. And he gets drafted, but through his draft process, he spends the whole time rehabbing and training that hip, not really working out for the combine, not really working out and prepping for life in the NFL. He couldn't do that. He wasn't afforded that opportunity because of that catastrophic hip injury that could have left him crippled. He's lucky to be walking today. It's a blessing from God above that he's walking today and even playing football because it was a catastrophic hip injury that he suffered. So he goes through that. He doesn't have a training camp because of COVID. He isn't allowed to really work with his receivers and build a rapport with them. And then you get in the 2020 season, they bring in Shane Gailey to be the offensive coordinator. And Shane Gailey, while respected among his NFL colleagues for his ability to kind of build an offense around Ryan Fitzpatrick, that's what he was brought in to do. He wasn't brought in to develop Tua. He wasn't brought in to build an offense for Tua. So why in the world did the Miami Dolphins and Brian Flores decide I'm going to insert this kid into the lineup when he good and well wasn't really ready, especially from a physical standpoint and even mentally. I think he didn't have the playbook down to a T like he would have liked, and it didn't fit what he did well and what he was accustomed to at Alabama, which was very much an RPO slash pro style system, very similar to kind of what he's running this year's. Because Sarkisian, if you remember, worked in Atlanta after he left Alabama in 2016, and he ran many of the same concepts and principles that Kyle Shanahan had instilled in Atlanta before he left and became the coach of the San Francisco 49ers. So already Tua is kind of behind the eight ball from a coaching perspective type thing. Then you add in when he gets inserted into the lineup, they can't run the ball. Their offensive line is not very good. And his wide receivers, other than Mike Gesicki, who's a pretty good receiving tight end, he was throwing to guys like Lynn Bowden, who was a converted running back receiver type from Kentucky, who had already been traded from the team that drafted him. Jakeem Grant, who was really just a return specialist. He's throwing to Matt Collins, who was a special teams specialist. Devontae Parker, when he was out there for the 5 games that he played, I mean, I'm being a little facetious with that. He obviously played more than that, but Devontae Parker is not a high caliber upper echelon receiver in the NFL. Let's not kid ourselves. So Tua's not being set up to succeed in that first year, and even so, he still had a good year by all standards. Go compare his numbers with Joe Burrow before they got hurt. They're very similar and more similar than the national media would want you to believe. Because the talk after that was there's such a wide gap between those two when there really wasn't. They were very, very similar. So he goes throughout that year, and there was some after they started off 3-0, he beats Kyler, outduels him in Arizona. There's some hype about Tua. There's some people kind of buying into the magic of the throwing Samoan, the Hawaiian punch, as a lot of people like to call them, and they're buying into that. And then we get to the Denver Broncos game, and Tua struggles a little bit. Part of that is due to Big Fangio's defense that he ran in Denver that was confusing the Miami offensive line. They couldn't protect Tua. Then he didn't have weapons to really help him out. And so Brian Flores yanks him in a game where Tua wasn't awful, but he yanks him in favor of Ryan Fitzpatrick. And Ryan Fitzpatrick comes in, moves the ball a little bit, but ultimately loses the game. Well, that impacts how the national media's perception of Tua is. Now he's seen as someone, does he really have it? Does his team really believe in him? Does the organization really believe in him? Okay. Then a few weeks later, we go to the Raiders game on primetime football, a game that the Miami Dolphins weren't on primetime a lot in 2020. That was the main one. Well, what happens? Tua's doing okay. Tua's not great, but the offensive line, the running game, none of that's helping him out. But what does Brian Flores do again? He yanks him in favor of Ryan Fitzpatrick, which leads to more of the doubt, more of the question that people have of Tua. So already, Brian Flores to me is not painting a good picture that he really believes in this so-called franchise quarterback. Okay. Then fast forward to 2021, they fire Chan Gailey. They hire Eric Stoodsville and George Godsey to be the co-offensive coordinators, Charlie Fry to be the quarterback coach, and it is Russian roulette on who's calling plays that week. I mean, I've watched football 25 years of my life. I've never seen a team have 3 offensive coordinators where one's related to one to another. I mean, it was like delivering plays in Morse code. Just not a lot of what the Patriots are going through this year with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. So not a good situation. And not only were they having issues getting plays in, they didn't know how to build around Tua. All they did was do an RPO offense. But one problem with that, Tua's really good at it, but they didn't have a run game. So it was a PO offense. The only PO I know about is the post office. Okay? So Tua's being somewhat successful making chicken salad out of chicken crap, basically, and is still doing all right. Ended up leading the league in completion percentage for a while, finished 8th for the year, but the offense wasn't built properly. I mean, you have Jalen Waddle, and you're using him like he's Jarvis Landry when you're not utilizing his speed and his ability to stretch the defense both vertically and horizontally. Okay, so the play calling wasn't any good. Then I talked about the offensive line being bad in 2020. 2021 said, hold my Coke, and said, it's going to be worse. And his offensive line, by every metric, was worse in pass protection in the league, and they were one of the worst run blocking teams in the league. So, what quarterback is going to be successful if he's constantly under duress? They were the most pressured team. They were the number one pressured or allowed the most pressures of any O line in the league. The second team behind them only are allowed 40 less than them. I mean, that's how big of a gap it was in the pressures allowed. And the reason the sack numbers weren't higher is a testament to Tua Tagovailoa and his ability to get rid of the ball quickly and have elite pocket presence. I mean, the fact that he didn't get sacked as many times as Joe Burrow is a modern day miracle. And it's a testament to him, but people don't really want to talk about that. So you couple that with offensive line, and then the receivers, you're relying on a rookie in Jalen Waddle, who, like I said, I don't think they use properly, but he's a really effective player. And him and Tua got it going a little bit throughout the year, but it was very short passes, and due to mainly design and the lack of ability to protect him if he did want to go deep because that offensive line was so abysmal. So you have all of these factors just working against Tua. And then on top of that, you have the organization trying to trade for Deshaun Watson, who, is accused by 24 women of sexual assault, and there might be more than that. And you have all this scrutiny of your organization, I believe, and your coach constantly undermining you at every turn. And what I want to ask a lot of y'all, what quarterback would succeed in that situation? Okay. And the thing is, not only did Tua didn't put up incredible statistics. Now, he was very efficient. He was eighth in completion percentage, like I said. He was the number one red zone quarterback in the NFL last year, which is very impressive and speaks to his accuracy and anticipatory skills. But not only that, he wasn't allowed to do what he's capable of, which is throw the ball deep, stretch plays out, extend, use his legs, improvise a little bit. He wasn't allowed to do that. And when Brian Flores got fired, I was so thankful because I knew that they would get someone in there who believed in Tua and would breed confidence in Tua. And now with Mike McDaniel at the helm, they're going to be able to do that. And you saw it in this preseason game and you've seen it all throughout camp. Tua's been airing it out long, just like he did at Alabama. He didn't lose that skill, folks. Now, of course, the hip is a little better. He's got more arm strength now, I think, with a little bit more torque on that hip. But the difference is he's being there. The plays are being designed to take advantage of that skill set he has. And now he's going to be able to show the world what he can really do. And I think it's just crazy that legacy media, mainly ESPN and other pundits, are piling on this kid and not evaluating the proper context of how much of a difficult situation he has been in the past 2 years. And I cannot wait to see Tua thrive in this new Mike McDaniel offense that's going to have a run game, allow him to actually use the RPO with a run with an R in the RPO, and is going to be able to utilize play action, which is something he did really well at Alabama that they hardly ever did under the Brian Flores regime. And so I cannot wait for Tua to prove the doubters wrong. I cannot wait for him to show people that he is still that dude that he was at Alabama. And I got a little other stat for you. For those who say Tua can't throw the ball deep, do you know that Tua's longest completion last year was longer and further than Patrick Mahomes' longest completion was last year? You probably didn't know that because legacy media did not tell you. But we here at the Pigskin Cafe, we're not committed to agendas. We're not committed to hot take or clickbait or the narrative. We're committed to the facts. And the fact is, Tua is going to have a great year this year, and he's going to prove everyone wrong and show that he is that transcendent quarterback. He is that quarterback that teams were tanking for. And I personally cannot wait. And I will say this will be the last thing I say. If he doesn't get it done this year, then I was wrong and Tua in that guy. But I don't think I'm going to have to come on here 5 months from now and tell you that, because I think Miami and Tua are going to be in the playoffs and be the surprise team of the NFL this year. So those are my thoughts that I just need to get off my chest and talk about here with you tonight. Appreciate you listening. Guys, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already to our YouTube channel. We got a lot of exciting things coming your way. We'll be back later this week previewing the college football week 1 slate. Cannot wait for that. And I would love for you to follow us on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, for poll information we have, clips from the show, just a lot of fun stuff going on there. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. The Pigskin Cafe is closed for now. But until next time, chew on that.